Welcome into the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. I'm Kay Donaldson, the director of the Alabama Bass Trail and your host for this week's podcast. This is the podcast for the week of April the 7th. It is Monday. We're recording on Monday. This normally goes up on Tuesday, but I don't know. I think I said this last week. I don't know what we've done to Mother Nature, but we have sure enough hacked her off. I mean, the entire Southeast Midwest have been going through it. And I say that and there are parts of Alabama that have really been hit harder than others. Luckily, my hometown right now, we have not been hit that bad. But there are places, I mean, I'm looking at Arkansas, Mississippi. It is absolutely insane at the damage that these communities have taken over the past, gosh, it seems like a month. I mean, literally, it started the second week of March, and it's been almost every weekend. I mean, I know certainly on Sunday night it has been horrible. So I just I don't know what we've done, but we got to do something different to get Mother Nature back on our side. It has been absolutely incredible. Our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone who's been affected by these storms. We know someone watching this podcast knows someone whose home was destroyed or flooded or can't get anywhere because of the flooding. A guy Jake played baseball with back in college, his family home is just surrounded by water. There's no way for them to get out except by boat. Luckily, it hasn't entered their house yet, but there's just no way for them to get out. And again, I know that there are so many people that have been affected by these storms, and our thoughts and prayers are with them certainly as they begin the process of recovery. And hopefully, they'll have some warm, dry days ahead that they can get the cleanup started and just the recovery and mentally, physically, emotionally started. So before I get started into the podcast, I also want to send out our thoughts and prayers to Miss Pam Martin Wells. I've been reading some reports. Pam is not well. She has elected to come home and go into hospice care. I know Stephen and her were traveling back from the hospital last week. I've not heard any updates over the weekend regarding her condition. But again, we want to send out our thoughts and prayers to Miss Pam Martin Wells. Pam and Stephen fished with us for several years. Then she went on to be a college coach and has been battling her breast cancer battle. And that, of course, has spread into other areas of her body. And she's fought the good fight. And she is a warrior and she is a woman of faith. And we just pray that she has peace and to give Stephen peace and Kusa as well. Very, very close to Kusa, and just praying for their family. So please join us in prayer for them as they navigate these tough times. Moving on, I know I talked about the storms. Luckily, Major League Fishing was able to complete the 2025 REDCREST tournament over on Lake Gunnersville. Alabama's own former ABT angler Dustin Cannell taking home his third win, REDCREST victory. So three of those big trophies sitting in his house. Dustin's a phenomenal angler. He fished with Alabama Bass Trail. He fished the Opens, made it to the Elite Series, chose to go to the MLF. Has caught him at every level. Fished in college, did all that. He's caught him at every level. Certainly one of the anglers that are at the top of his game at this point. So congratulations to Dustin and his family for winning his third REDCREST. It's got to be kind of special to do that in your home state. On a lake that I wouldn't necessarily consider Dustin's home lake. He lives on the Coosa, lives down near the Alabama, down near Lake Jordan and Lake Mitchell. So not necessarily a home lake for him, but certainly his home state. So congratulations to Dustin and his family. Friends of mine, Wesley and Stephanie Strader, they took home second place. And I say that because I know just how involved Stephanie is as managing and all the things with Wesley. And I'm going to go ahead and take a shot at him if you know Wesley. he's got to have some help. So I've watched them over the past few years become good friends with them, and what a team they are. They took home second place, so proud for them. I know Lake Gunnersville's a special place to Wesley, and kind of a home lake to him as well. So congratulations to them. Good tournament. I got a chance to go to the Red Crest Expo on Friday, had some meetings in Huntsville, and then went over to the Von Braun Center, got to visit some great people. And I'm going to say what stood out to me. Um, no, it's not the Classic. So I didn't go, I knew going into it not to expect the crowds that we have at the Classic. But what stood out to me is the number of Alabama Bass Trail people that were there. And everywhere I turned, there was an Alabama Bass Trail hat. So I can say this, that Alabama Bass Trail rope hat, as y'all refer to them, the gray hat with the white ABT and the white rope, like that must be the most popular hat in all of Alabama Bass Trail history, because every time I turned around, there was an Alabama Bass Trail hat. There was some in the Phoenix booth. There were some in the Camus booth. There was some in the Frog Togs booth. Everywhere I turned, there seemed like there was an Alabama Bass Trail angler there. And it is a cool hat. So I'm not going to take away from that. But the amount of pride our anglers take in wearing that logo and being associated with Alabama Bass Trail, that's what I took away from the Red Crest. And that is not at all what I went there for. I strictly went to see some of our sponsors, and to, congratulate Joel Lamp on getting the Red Crest to Huntsville, a local tourism guy there in Huntsville. So just to kind of show my appreciation to the city of Huntsville for hosting the event, but then also get to visit some of our partners that maybe I wasn't able to get to at the Classic. So it wasn't the Bassmaster Classic. I don't think anyone going into there thought it would be the Bassmaster Classic, but it was a good test run, I think, for the city of Huntsville and hosting a big major fishing event. And props to them. If you know anything about Huntsville, they have phenomenal sporting venues. I mean, new professional soccer league. They've got the Rocket City Trash Pandas. They've got John Hunt Park. That's just absolutely amazing. They have wonderful facilities to host amateur and professional sporting events. This was their first really dive into to professional fishing. So my hat's off to them for not being as and it kind of having their eyes just focused on certain things, but being able to open their eyes to more non-traditional sports. So congratulations to the city of Huntsville, to North Alabama, for being the host of the 2025 Red Crest Expo and of the tournament. I did want to talk a little bit about some other stuff that's kind of in the news, but I did want to cover the Super Bass tournament down in Gadsden. Of course, we're going to Neely Henry in a couple of weeks, so we got to talk about this tournament. I don't have an official number of how many boats were there, but I know it was very well attended. It always is. The city of Gadsden does a fantastic job. Julie and her staff, Mike Godfrey at, I think at Coosa River Team Trail, they always do the weigh-in and stuff for them. Due to bad weather, it was cut from a 2-day event to a single-day event. 1853 was the winning weight. Mr. L.J. Brown and Lee Brown took home the win, and they had a 677 big fish in their bag. So really good weight. With the storms that we were, kind of having building up, I think it was a really good tournament. Again, I have no idea of what the total boat count was on that tournament. Bradley Jones, who fished the Alabama Bass Trail, fished that tournament with Brett Prince. They took home second with 1808. And then two more names familiar in the Alabama Bass Trail, John Kellett and Stephen McAvoy. They took home third place with 1801. So a lot of good bass fishing going on. I'm sure there were lots of other tournaments in the state of Alabama. I just wasn't able to find any of the results this early in the morning before getting on here to do the podcast. There was a Bass Open over on Norfolk. It was I think it was the Bass Opens 2. I would have to go back and look, but I think it was the Bass Opens 2. Reduced down to one day of competition. They fished on, I think, Thursday, and then Friday, of course, is when the storm started there. continued on Saturday, and so they were reduced to 1 day of competition. Casey Scanlon took home the win on that event. And I saw a couple of social media posts about it, about, Bass really made a bad mistake and only allowing that to be a 1 day of competition. Um, do I get it? Yeah. Do I understand Bass's side of it too? Yes. Um, I have 14 events a year. I have zero idea how many events Bass has when you look at the opens. You have two divisions of that. You have the Elite Series. They have their high school, they have their college. So I have zero idea how many events that they have every year. And a lot of their trailers that they use go to multiple events and multiple series. So those trailers may be needed at another event. Those tournament assistants may be needed at another event. So I get the scheduling and all the things. I don't necessarily like it because of two reasons. And that is they get a Bassmaster Classic qualification if they win an event and they fish all four of them. So odds are, I know I saw Casey's name in the EQ qualifying state rankings. And so he qualified to go to the Bassmaster Classic on a win for 1 day competition. Um, it is what it is. It's the rules and it's how it is. I'm not really sure that I like that. I don't have to agree with it, but to be able to make the Bassmaster Classic on a 1 day is not crazy about that. And then also the fact that the EQs have the chance to qualify for the Elite Series. Um, I, I I like the EQ qualification. I like them cutting it down from 9 to 4 and having the two divisions and all of that. Like I think that's way better, and I think they did that to promote participation with the not as much travel, not as much entry fee, all that, and then having the three EQs. I just If I am a Bassmaster Elite guy and I have to fish 8 events and I have to qualify in the top whatever to get to the Bassmaster Classic and I got to finish in the top 36, and this guy fished 1 day and is there. I don't know. Not sure how I feel about that. I am sure how I feel about that. I'm not a fan of that. Not a fan. They didn't ask me. Don't care, but I'm just not a fan of that. While we're talking about that, I was looking at some of the EQs, and we have a couple of guys that are in the top 50 in those EQs. Probably have more than that. Fisher and I is leading the Opens 2. He is in first place. Lucas Lindsay is in Opens 1, and he's in third place. Matt Adams is in 19th place. So several of those guys looking to get inside that top 50 in the EQs to move on. And Fisher, I think, was one of the teams that was at Norfolk. I think he was in 11th place after day one. So he does get a little bit of a benefit because it was cut to day one because he was in 11th place. And I think he had a ninth place finish before. So the points, the way it works, kind of helps him. And I saw his dad make a comment that the guys know this going in. And that's something that I really, really, really encourage our guys to think about when they sign up for the Alabama Bass Trail. Bass fishing tournaments are outside. And if you look at our schedule, January through June, a large majority of those tournaments take place in the spring. And in the South and in the Midwest, weather's crazy here. So it's a toss up as to what weather you're going to get. So whether or not that tournament may be pushed to Sunday, if it's Alabama Bass Trail, or if the days of competition may be limited to 2 days, and in this case, 1 day. So it's just kind of tough. I mean, I would not want to be in Bass's situation. I know the first one of the year had something very similar to that happen, and it's just tough. We've had some really, really rough weather, and nobody understands bad weather conditions better than the Alabama Bass Trail. It seems like every time we turn around, we're dealing with that. So, but that's the two reasons that I'm not a huge fan of that is just the Bassmaster Classic qualification, and then also the points that go toward the EQ on a 1 day of competition. So That's just my personal take. Other news in the bass fishing industry, Scott Martin steps away from the Bassmaster Elite Series for 2025. And that's what I read. I didn't read that he stepped away from a lot for it for a lifetime, steps away from it for 2025. Scott was disqualified from a tournament earlier this year. And from what I gather, there was going to be another polygraph for an upcoming tournament in North Carolina, and he chose not to take the polygraph and chose to walk away from the season. So, you hear all kinds of things on social media. You know, I don't know a lot about Scott. I know he's been a professional fisherman as long as I've been in the industry. I've never directly worked with him. I know he's fished the FLW Tour. I know he had a successful career there. When the split happened, he came over to Bassmaster, and honestly, I don't have enough information or knowledge of him to give even a comment about that. And the way I see it on social media is that you're either pro Scott Martin or you're against Scott Martin. There's nobody that's in between with this. The information rule for bass is the information rule for bass. I know that has been a huge source of contention over the past 2 years about the information rule. And understand, guys, I mean, the information rule hasn't always been there. I mean, back 20 years ago, guys could get information and they could stay with a local guide. They could, they could go to dinner with guides and they could talk about fishing and they could do all of that up until the days of competition. So, people that did really well 20 years ago, 25 years ago, maybe they did have a little bit of an upper hand because they did have the access to the information. That may be outweighed now by the technology and the things that we have, but rules evolve, and we'll see where this goes. Again, I don't know if this is that he's walking away from Bassmasters for the rest of his career. All I know is that what I read was he was stepping away for the 2020 for the rest of the 2025 season. So, we'll hopefully there'll be more, news about that as the year goes on. But I know they are headed to North Carolina, have a couple tournaments this month, and a lot going on in the bass fishing world. I have started following a guy on TikTok. I think his name is Luke Graham. I really agree with a lot of stuff that he's talking about. I have zero idea who he is, zero how he fits into the whole bass fishing world. But I would just, I've enjoyed some of his content there on TikTok. One of the things that he mentioned before I get into my next segment is the way we have good payouts. And this goes for the Alabama Bass Trail too. So I can kind of say this with bass. I don't really know how their structure is or how MLF structure is, but I can say for the Alabama Bass Trail, we pay 113%. When you consider the amount we pay back in tournaments, the amount we pay back in our championship, the amount that we pay to Bass for your Bass team registration, and the $9,000 that we spend for the Bass team championship entry fees for the 18 teams that go to that, and the Angler of the Year payout, it's around 113%. That's before you consider the $31,000 in credit card fees that we ate this year that we did not pass on to our customer. That's before that 31,000. So, in order to have payouts that people will drive 3, 4, 5 states away to participate with us, you have to pay out, which means you have to have sponsors to pay for your other expenses. And if it wasn't for Phoenix Boats, Rapala, Amherst, Garmin, Pro Guide Batteries, American Bait Works, Jax, all these people that come together to sponsor the Alabama Bass Trail, Landers McClarty, McGraw Webb, all the people that you see on those backdrops, we couldn't do what we do. We couldn't have the stage that we have. We couldn't hire the people that we have. We couldn't have a $100,000 fish care tank. We couldn't have live. We couldn't have live streaming. for the weigh-ins. I mean, we couldn't hire a professional photographer to come and capture all these memories. It takes sponsorship dollars to run our organization. Um, and if I ran a company and I wanted to support something, and I went on their social media and read all the negative that's surrounding the sport that we love on a daily basis, I might think twice about jumping in that arena, um, or having my brand aligned with a sport that basically internally cannibalizes itself. Um, and all for a few likes, clicks, and views. And he made a video on that, and it made so much sense, that here we are wanting great payouts, wanting first class ran events, wanting live, wanting great photos, wanting all this, but in the same breath, we turn around and tear down all organizations that have anything to do with it, that basically gave birth to the sport. Bass is not going to do everything correctly. MLF's not going to do everything correctly. Alabama Bass Trail's not going to do everything correctly. Bass Champ's not going to do everything correctly. In a lot of people's eyes, in a lot of people's eyes, we do. But we're not going to be perfect to everyone. I had a chance to spend about 30 minutes on the phone with Jeff Welch from Bass Champs last week. It may have been close to an hour. But it was interesting when I look at our situation here on the Alabama Bass Trail. And I talked to Jeff over at Bass Champs, who's been doing this 25 years. And his opportunities, is how I like to look at them, are totally different from the opportunities on the Alabama Bass Trail. It is, it's crazy to me, the issues that tournament organizers face that most people never know about. The lack of water in Texas, some of the lakes that are 60 and 80 feet low that they can't host tournaments at, but yet in that on that lake, there's probably 80 people that used to fish with them because they came to their lake and they would fish with them and fish the other four events because they at least came to their home lake. Well, they no longer can go to that lake because of access. So they lost 60 of those 80 boats. They don't know if they'll ever get those people back because who knows if they'll ever have the water. Something we don't have to think about in the state of Alabama. So looking at their opportunities and the opportunities that face the Alabama Bass Trail to me was very eye-opening. I love the opportunity to sit down with like-minded people. And I will say this, I have talked to Chad Potts on a number of occasions. I've seen him at ICAST. I've talked with Jeff Welch on a number of occasions at Bass Champs. I've talked with Wade Middleton at Texas Team Trail, have great conversations, a great dialogue with them. It is so important that we have those conversations and that we are really here to be able to bounce ideas off of and to talk and to collaborate and to put the best foot forward and the best platform forward that we can. And it was really, really refreshing to talk to them through issues that we have and through issues that they have. And so I'm very thankful for those friendships. But the one thing that stood out to me last week is I think his name is Luke Graham, his comment about the only way that we can have, people always talk about golf tournaments, Jaguar is or Rolex is, giving all this money. You just don't go out, and I say this, and I know I sound like I'm a broken record. You just don't go out and see the hate and the negativity on other professional sports that you see on our professional sport. It is very disheartening to see that, and I think it's something that I don't know how to fix it. And I hate bringing things up that I don't know how to fix, but it's just a little frustrating to see because, again, we have to have those partners. And the fishing industry as a whole have been hurting. You know, we've talked about the hard bait sales being down, tackle sales, rods, reels, all the things. Some of that is due to forward-facing sonar because there's certain tactics that you use and certain baits that you use, and they're not using bait casters and all the things. Some of it is economy. Now we're looking at tariffs. So I feel like we would all be better off to kind of pull the wagon together instead of one pulling this way and one pulling that way. Um, I think we got to get a handle on it. And unfortunately, because of the amount of money that people make out on social media with likes, clicks, and views, I'm not sure how to do it. Not sure how to do it. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. Have no idea what's going to go on with Scott. Maybe we'll see more news come on that later on in the next couple of weeks. But I think our next big event in the state of Alabama is the Tackle Warehouse Invitational that will be taking place on Smith Lake maybe next week. I think it's the 15th through the 17th, right before we go down to Neely Henry for the third stop of the Alabama Bass Trail North Division. So we've got that event coming up. That is our next event. I want to talk a little bit about the guest that I'm going to have on in the next segment. His name is Daniel Vasquez. Daniel moved from South Florida to Alabama back in the fall, I think around November or so. He moved over to Logan Martin Lake, spent a good bit of time in South Florida. I think sold his business. He and his wife, Nicole, moved to the Logan Martin area with his hopes of working on his craft to go from the co-angler side of the boat to go into the pro side of the boat. So I wanted to talk to Daniel about what influenced him and Nicole to move to Alabama and situate themselves there at Logan Martin Lake. Talk about his fishing career. He's been fishing for a really long time. And then talk about the lakes that he's visited since he's been here in Alabama. I think it's like 4 or 5 lakes that he's been to so far. But then just talk to him about those experiences. And then also he volunteered with us over at Logan Martin, helped us with a camera boat, and then worked with us at the tournament because we had a man down. So I mentioned him in last week's podcast. We're going to have him on in just a little bit, Mr. Daniel Vasquez. So y'all stay tuned. I think you'll want to hear what he has to say. And then we'll wrap this thing up and get you back out on the water. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be right back on the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast presented by Phoenix Boats.
Jack's here. And in the South, we know how hard it is waiting for bowl season to come round again. So we're kicking off our own bowl season. For a limited time, you can get our new loaded fried chicken bowl. It's a hearty heap of hand-breaded chicken fingers, crispy bacon, buttered corn, and mashed potatoes with white peppered gravy. Might not fill the football-shaped hole in your heart, but it'll sure fill your stomach. Get the loaded fried chicken bowl for a limited time. We're Jax, and we're all about the South.
Welcome back to the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. Segment number 2, Daniel Vasquez from his home there around Logan Martin Lake. Daniel, welcome to the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me very much.
It's so funny to kind of talk to you like this because when we hang out, and we have a few times, we got to hang out some at the Birmingham Boat Show. Your wife and yourself and Spencer and his friend, we all had dinner together when I was at Logan Martin the other day. So we've got to hang out a good bit, I would say, since you moved to Alabama. But November, did you move in November?
Yeah, it was like the end of November, beginning of December. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, lived in South Florida. Talk a little bit about what you did in South Florida and then making the transition to the great state of Alabama.
Sure. Yes. So I was living in South Florida for about 10 years, started a environmental firm down there, and it was great. Did a lot more ocean fishing than bass fishing for the time that I was in South Florida. That's something that we're going to talk about, obviously, but decided to sell my business there in South Florida and moved to Alabama with my wife after coming here for an event. And it's been great. I love it here so much.
So you fished the Open on Logan Martin, and then toward the end of the year, Hartwell got moved to Lake Martin. And that's when you and I connected. Like, you sent me a message and said, hey, I'm considering moving to Alabama. I get that a lot because of being the Alabama Bass Trail. I get that a lot. Hey, I'd love to move to Alabama. Send me some information. And rarely that happens. So I kind of thought, okay, this guy's like, him and his wife's really going to move from South Florida. And as awesome
That's
as that
random.
is to Alabama. So you were interested in Lake Martin, interested around Logan Martin. So we kind of connected in October. And then literally within 4 weeks or 5 weeks, you text me back and say, hey, we're moving at the end of November. That's how quick that happened.
Yeah, it was very fast. It was a lot faster than we thought it was going to happen, but as soon as we found the house that we wanted here, the ball got rolling so fast and the process went through a lot faster than we thought. So we ended up being here before the new year, which was awesome. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. So we're very happy with our decision.
Yeah, and Nicole, she kind of works remotely, so she travels a good bit, but she works there at home. Um, and I gotta ask, like, dude, you're fishing every day. Every
Every
day
single
I get on and there's a Instagram story or a Facebook story. I mean, like you are just eat up with Alabama bass fishing right now.
Yeah, I really am. This place is paradise for a guy like me. I didn't bass fish for around 11 years until last year when I fished the opens. And, I didn't even know what a Ned rig was. So coming to Alabama, and learning all these different things and fishing with these guys, the endless opportunities to be able to learn is what I really enjoy about living in Alabama and fishing these systems.
I've listened to your introduction podcast because I know you co-host a podcast with Spencer Graves, Lines and Tines with Spencer Graves. Um, from the Spencer Graves radio show. If nobody knows who, I'm sure they know who that is. They know who that is before they know who Kay Donaldson and Daniel Vasquez is. So you did an intro podcast with him, and you talked about fishing at an early age and going and staying with your dad and being with your mom and the variety of fishing that you did. So talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So when my parents separated, unfortunately, when I was a lot younger, my dad lived in Los Angeles, next to all the lakes like Castaic Lake and Casitas and all that. And then my mom, lived in New Hampshire. So I got to enjoy like Lake Winnipesaukee and Lake Champlain and all those different types of lakes. So, um, bouncing back and forth, I kind of had the best of both worlds to be able to learn how to power fish and then finesse fish and I was still taking fishing very seriously back then. I actually was taking bass fishing incredibly seriously. It's what I wanted to do for a living.
Hmm.
And then I decided to go down a different route with owning my own business. Obviously, it was a little bit more, realistic. At that time, it was really hard to be a young kid in the fishing world.
Hmm.
So I was bouncing back and forth and enjoying that and learning a ton. And then in 2013, when I met my wife, is when I got bit by the ocean bug in Florida, and then I had stopped bass fishing for a while. But it was moving back and forth and being with my parents, and even though it was kind of unfortunate circumstances, it was integral in my fishing.
Yeah. Um, so you joined up, fished the Bassmaster Opens last year. Um, did you do all 9 events?
Yeah, I did all nine. I told myself, because this was so random. Like I woke up one day and I told myself, I was like, I got to do something with this bass fishing thing again because, I loved it so much when I was younger and I just stopped doing it. So I was like, I'm going to sign up for all nine. And if I finish in the top 10, then, maybe I'll try to go pro and do this thing.
Hmm.
And I finished top 10 in the AOY for that year. And like I said, I hadn't bass fished in 11 years. And to be able to compete with those guys kind of gave me the confidence. And that's when we came to Logan Martin, found Alabama, and we just fell in love with this area. And I decided if I want to be a professional fisherman, I need to move to Alabama because this is where all the guys do it.
Hmm. And we do. We have so many that start here and learn the different ecosystems and the different river systems and the lakes here in Alabama, and they're able to translate that all around the country when they travel. Um, Logan Martin Lake, that's the one I think you've spent the most time on. But talk a little bit about the lakes that you visited thus far. You've been here since November, so tell me the lakes that you visited since you've been here in Alabama.
Sure. So it's actually interesting. I try to go to a new lake every week and fish that lake for a week at a time.
Hmm.
So I've fished Logan, obviously, Lay Lake, Neely Henry, Lake Martin, Gunnersville. Uh, I fished Pickwick. I had a Toyota Series up there. I didn't get to spend as much time on Pickwick as I wanted to. Um, but those are the lakes I fished so far in Alabama.
And you've gotten to fish with some Alabama Bass Trail guys. The
Yeah, I
first day
have.
you called me on at Pickwick, you had fished with Jason Grape, and then you fished with did you fish with Sam
It was
Long? Sam
Jason
Long?
Atkins.
Jason Atkins. Okay, I knew it was one of those from that team. So Jason Atkins that fished the Alabama Bass Trail with Sam. So you have fished with some Alabama Bass Trail guys.
Yeah, at the end, those guys, your organization is unbelievable, okay? Because it seems like most of the guys from Alabama Bass Trail are very well put together fishermen, and they're always competing at the highest level with all these other guys,
Yeah.
which is really awesome to see.
Yeah. So I know just talking to Spencer, you went to Lay Lake and you're like, oh, this place sucks, dude. This place just, I hate it here, blah, blah, blah. The next day you go back and what happened?
So they were all like suspended in trees the first day I went there, and I just couldn't get them to bite. And then I kind of went home and thought about it a little bit more, and then started getting a little bit more dialed in on them. Then I went back the next day and absolutely slaughtered them. So it's uh, it's definitely a learning curve here. I've never. It's very these river systems and these lakes are very humbling. I've never fished an area where you could be fishing and be on them one day and then the next day they're just completely gone. So that's very strange as a fisherman.
So when they're standing on stage and they say, man, we should have fished this tournament yesterday, they're not really lying, are they?
They're not lying. They're not lying.
When you look at the fisheries and they're so water level dependent, like there's certain lakes. We thought at Logan Martin we needed the water to be up just a little bit for the fish to start like doing their thing, but we saw a lot of people that were fishing for spawning fish. I mean, that were fishing for bedding fish. Lay Lake is one of those lakes that I've seen so many times people come in and they either hero or zero because they were on a pattern on Friday and they felt really good about their practice, and then on Saturday it just did not happen, did not turn out the way they thought it would.
Yep, yep, just vanishes.
What about Lake Jordan? You said you've spent some time on Lake Jordan. It's a very small pond, 6,600 acres. So it's got to be a little bit different from what you're used to if you're at Lay and Logan and all those
Yeah,
others.
yeah, it was. It was a lot different. I actually took a guided trip there when I first was looking for houses when I actually had called you after that Lake Martin event
Hmm.
with Carson Maddox of the Bass and Bros service.
Hmm.
And we had a blast. He put us on spot bass. We were wearing them out, just pretty much scoping around. So I haven't really been able to learn it as much as I want to by myself yet. But that's kind of the experience I've had so far in Jordan.
Okay. Talk. What about Neely Henry? I know you fished a.
Neely Henry is probably, I mean, I'm sure a lot of guys say the same thing. Neely Henry is probably my least favorite lake
Yeah.
on the Coosa, or my least favorite impoundment. But it's another thing. It's another one of those things on the Coosa where it's challenging, and if you want to be good around here, you got to learn it. And that's my plan. I'm going to try to learn as much as these as I possibly can so I can compete locally. And then next year I will hopefully be in the opens, and be able to compete with those guys.
Okay. You got a chance to go fish a tournament with Spencer Graves on Lake Gunnersville. What most people see as the holy grail of bass fishing, especially in the state of Alabama. What are your thoughts on Gunnersville?
Oh my God. Is it even a real place? Like is
It's
it
like a
like
fairyland kind of
it is like
place,
a
isn't it?
fairyland. It is. It's like I remember when Okeechobee used to be like that. Um, and it seems like Gunnersville surpassed it 10 times.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable the amount of fish that come out of there that are the 4 to 5 to 6 pound range fish that are in there. It's just, I mean, it's almost like if you don't have them, you might as well just go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, in your
I mean,
bag.
when
20
when we
pounds
had
full,
our
just go home.
tournament there a couple weeks ago, my thoughts were 30 or 40 bags that'll go over 20 pounds just because the number of fish, and I knew we were going to be fishing post front conditions. So I figured 30 bags over 20 would be great. And we walked away with 58 bags over 60 pounds, or 58 bags over 20 pounds. The week before they had 60 bags over 20 pounds. And I'm sitting there going, the lake cannot continue to produce the way it is, but it is.
It is.
The amount of pressure on that lake is absolutely insane.
Yeah, it is. And the crazy thing was 2K is that I was a couple bass I'd catch, you'd look in their mouths, they didn't have very many hook marks. So they're taking the pressure semi well,
Yeah.
which is kind of strange too. How
Yeah.
good is it going to be for how long?
Right. Right. Well,
So
I know you have kind of a background in some fisheries biology and marine and biology and things. Um, Overall, I know you went to Pickwick. Did you get to catch any smallmouth at Pickwick?
I did not. I didn't even see my boaters catch a because I fished as a co-angler at that event.
Yeah.
I didn't even see my boaters catch a smallmouth.
So you've
Yeah.
not caught a smallmouth in Alabama yet.
No, I have not even
Okay.
seen. Yeah.
All right. Well, we need to
Yeah.
work on that. We need to you need to catch that, Wilson Lake, I think we have an ABT 100 there in November. I think that's going to be heavily dominated by smallmouth. I'm looking forward to that event. We've never had any ABT on Wilson Lake. It's a rather small impoundment, but 100 boats will fit there really well. Um, let's see. You fish Pickwick, you fish Neely Henry. We've talked about that. Lake Martin, that was like you just thought that was the most beautiful place. Like we talked
I
about
love Lake
that.
Martin. I love it. It's the
It,
best lake in Alabama, in my opinion. But I know the fish are small, and people don't really like catching small fish, but just the scenery and the how many fish you catch, and I like tight tournaments where the weights are really tight. When it comes
yeah.
down to ounces, I really feel like those are the tournaments where it separates the really good anglers from the next. And that's why I like that lake so much.
We had 220 or so limits there this year, and we had 216 out of 218 at Logan Martin. I think having those two lakes in the same division, if you've really got to separate yourself though, because those are the first two events we had this year, and you kind of got to separate yourself there. But those lakes, you can just freaking catch them. I've said this. If you want to go catching, go to Lake Martin and Logan Martin because those lakes are chocked full of bass. It is insane to me the number of fish we see.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. 100%.
So you got to experience a little bit of the Alabama Bass Trail at Logan Martin. You got to take Darian out, and be in one of the most awkward situations with Rob Lee, Steve Winslet. It was the funniest live coverage I think I've ever watched. Is Darian was so uncomfortable, but you got to be on the boat with cameraman extraordinaire Kenny. You got to be on the boat with Darian. How was that?
We had a ball. I sat back and just watched the whole time and kind of just let them do their thing and just drove the boat around. But it was really cool to see how tournaments run like that. See how you pull up on the guys and how you look on your iPad and can see their locations and when they're running. I thought that was really cool. Because I'd never seen anything like that. The last time I was even part of an event where I think I sat and was like part of any type of media or coverage was during those old PAA events.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to be a part of that. Thank you again for allowing me to do that. And yeah, I hope I can do it again.
Good, good. It is interesting. I think most people from the outside looking in, they don't know all the chaos that literally goes on because I know at Gunnersville specifically, we were really battling wind and being able to communicate with people. And then when they're fishing a spot that basically is 30 yards by 20 yards and you're trying to talk to them and you can't get up behind them and because the water's so shallow you can't go that way, it really does limit how you can talk to those guys. And you want to talk to Rob Lee, Steve Winslet. They're multi-time winners on the trail. They've won at Logan. They've got an Angler of the Year. So you want to cover them. But I got a chance to talk to Rob Lee at the REDCREST this weekend, and it was so funny. He said just the look on Darian's face. I said, oh, he literally wanted to just die, like right there. He just wanted to like die. But anyway, then you get to come over to Lincoln Landing. You get to see the Alabama Bass Trail set up. I hate that you didn't get to meet all of our team, but they're all kind of running and gunning and busy. Give me your thoughts on the Alabama Bass Trail from a setup perspective and just seeing a little bit of the behind the scenes.
Yeah, definitely. So the setup was outstanding. It was just like any other regular professional organization setup. And I met the one thing that actually stood out to me a lot more than your organization was the amount of attention you guys pay to fish care. Who I can't remember the gentleman you have in charge,
Frank,
Caleb.
Frank.
He's pretty much a senior fisheries biologist,
Yeah.
and he's crushing it.
Yeah.
And fish are in really good hands, and that's what I think set you guys apart from everybody else outside of everything that everybody else has.
Right. Right.
So it was really cool to see, and everything ran so smoothly. There wasn't anybody complaining or belly aching, and it was awesome. It was really cool to see everybody with their jerseys on for ABT and all their merch with their hats. It was like a well-oiled machine.
I said that in the first segment talking about REDCREST. It was like every time I turned a corner, there's an Alabama Bass Trail hat,
Yep.
and or a guy with his Alabama Bass Trail shirt on. When we went to the Classic out in Fort Worth, there was Alabama Bass Trail hats, Alabama Bass Trail jerseys. To me, and as an organizer and someone, the fact that they take that much pride in it and they want to wear it out to these other big events, that just means the world to me because we place a lot of work into perfecting this brand and to make it highly recognizable. And those guys choose to wear it, and that just tickled me to death. Is everywhere I turned, there was an Alabama Bass Trail hat or shirt or something, and it was really cool to see. It was really cool to see. What events do you have coming up? Do you have anything marked on your calendar?
I'm probably gonna fish the Airport Marine lay open this weekend.
Okay.
Besides that, I told myself I was gonna continue fishing as a co-angler this year with on the Toyota Series, but I decided to back out of that. I needed to stay more focused on becoming a boater and fishing these lakes with my boat.
Hmm.
So I'm actually not fishing very many big tournaments. It's just gonna be mostly local stuff. But I'm really excited to do the local stuff too. So.
Good, 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 good. You've gotten to visit several of the boating access points or boat ramps in the state of Alabama. I feel we're very blessed in the state of Alabama to have the facilities that we have. I mean, you live right there at Lincoln Landing. You know how phenomenal that place is. What has been your experience traveling through the state of Alabama and seeing tournament ready facilities?
So there's a couple states I've been to that have tournament ready facilities where they can host big events like the Alabama Bass Trail and like Bass and
Hmm.
um you guys do a really good job, Alabama, the state as a whole. Another one that's really good is South Carolina
Oh,
does a
yeah.
really good job as a whole. But I'm gonna say probably Alabama takes the most pride.
They do.
They have yeah.
I will say this, our Department of Conservation does invest a large number of dollars in getting enough access points for not only for boats, but for also kayaks and canoes. I know that's a big push right now. People love the outdoors. They may not want to go spend $85,000 on a bass boat, but they want to go spend a couple of grand on a good kayak and they get out and enjoy the water. So putting access points in those backwater areas and soft shore areas are real important. And I know they're doing a really good job of that. I think the amount that they said in the meeting the other day was about $30 million in access points this next 24 months. So they certainly are very serious about making sure that Alabamians and visitors alike have access to our waterways for sure.
Wow, I did not know that. I did not
Yeah,
know that. Wow.
they do a lot. And, all that those dollars are federal dollars that are matched with our excise taxes. I think the bro tax. So that's real. That's above my pay grade to know that. I just know that Commissioner Blankenship mentioned that there was about $30 million of money going into access points and things like that. So, um, how do you feel like you've been received since you came to Alabama? I know you fished some airport stuff, and I know what really got me the other day was you were standing there working with us, and these two guys come off the stage, and you knew them, and y'all were laughing and cutting up and talking. So I'm interested to know because I'm a hospitality employee, so I'm interested to know how have you felt since from the fishing community in the state of Alabama.
The people are so nice. They're a lot more warm and opening than I thought they were going to be. I thought it was going to be a very tight-lipped community. The people weren't going to receive me very well here because I am an outsider from Florida,
Hmm.
nevertheless. And it's been great. Everybody's been so kind. But I'm also not here stealing their lunch money yet. So,
True. Yeah, don't go start winning,
I'm
dude. You'll
sure
be
once
like,
I start busting on them, they're going to cut me right
yeah, they're
off.
gonna cut you right out.
But it's been great. I've been very thankful for the people I've met here so far, like Spencer and you and Mandy, and it's been an awesome just few months. I've only been here for 4 months, and it's is the best place I've ever lived in my life.
Well, I've seen Nicole gardening. I've seen her on the lawnmower. How is she settling in?
She likes it a lot. I can't speak 100% for her, but she's really an outdoor enthusiast. She enjoys, the waterfall hikes and, going to the different mountains and seeing all the different scenery, and even just, going horseback, right? That's her jam. So she's having a great time here because she's been in Florida for her whole life, or at least for most of her life. And it's just everybody likes having a new atmosphere and new setting. It's sometimes good to have a new start.
How many pets has she adopted since y'all moved in?
So we have two outdoor cats that kind of just managed to make their way over to the house somehow. I don't know if the person here previously in this home was feeding cats, but we have a couple outdoor cats that have managed to make their way. Um, but it's been enjoyable. Maybe they'll keep some of the pests away. I know there's a whole bunch of pests in Alabama. So.
Oh, anytime you're by the lake, you're gonna have that. All right, the important stuff.
Okay.
What's been your favorite restaurants that you visited since you've been in Alabama?
Okay, so it's not a restaurant though. It's a fast food place. I'm probably gonna have to say one of the two. It's either probably gonna be Freddy's or Jack's. And I know it's because in Florida we don't have really good fast food. It's like McDonald's and Burger King, right?
Yeah.
So I don't even remember the last time I've eaten at McDonald's or Burger King, and I like fast food. So I'm gonna probably say that, but like, are we talking like good food? Because I haven't. There's a couple places I've found that
I
it's
want to hear it all,
kind
dude. Like, okay, what's your Jack's order? Because we're
I
sponsored by
Jack's,
Jack's. So what's your Jack's order?
I'm getting tendies. I'm a tendy guy. Yeah,
Okay, all right, getting the chicken tenders. Okay. Have
they're
you done
good.
the gravy biscuit?
What's a gravy biscuit?
Oh my God.
I'm gonna have to do it. Yep.
Okay, so breakfast in the morning, you got to go have a single gravy biscuit at Jack's. It's abs. You got to let me know how you like that.
Is it
That is
sausage
my
gravy?
go-to. Huh?
Is it sausage gravy?
It's sausage gravy over their biscuit.
All right.
Now on this low carb diet I'm on, I have to do the sausage and the eggs. But I'm gonna tell you, I have to sneak that gravy biscuit in. And they'll do a double, but I cannot do a double. That's just way beyond anything I can do. But that gravy biscuit is so. But you have a biscuit place you like to go to in the morning.
Yes, I do. Yeah, there's a couple places. There's the Cotton Patch. I'm sure a lot of local people around here know that.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is just this little place down the road, that's part of a gas station, but this lady wakes up every single morning and makes fresh biscuits. And
She
they're
makes
so
Daniel a fresh biscuit.
good. Fresh biscuit. And I must have gained already 20 pounds. I had to cut the biscuits out of my life too for about a week or two, but we're back on the biscuit train. And we've had a couple this week already.
Okay. Okay. What other good restaurants?
The tavern downtown isn't bad. Uh, I haven't, to be honest, I haven't really been to very many. We went to one that I didn't like. I don't know that. Um, and that was, what was that one called, Kay? I can't remember what it was called.
Oh, you didn't like Nikki's West.
Yeah, I didn't like Nikki's
Don't.
West.
Oh, I hope Spencer don't listen to this. He will be
You're gonna be
crushed.
so mad. You're gonna be
Oh
offended.
yeah, Spencer's gonna be
Yeah.
crushed. That's one of his favorite places is Nikki's West. No, no, I'm gonna agree with you on that one. We did not have Nikki's at its best. I can tell you that, but I get that. It's an acquired soul food kind of taste. I love soul food, but yeah, that was not good that day. I'm gonna give you that. I'm gonna give you that. Where's the best margarita?
Around us, the place is actually called Margaritas.
Exactly. That
Yeah.
was so good. That was so good. We got to visit, for those of you listening, Daniel, his wife, Spencer, his friend, and myself went to Margaritas on Thursday night before the Alabama Bass Trail tournament on Logan Martin. First time I'd been there, and it was phenomenal. I thought the food was good. The portions are great. The margaritas were great. The tequila was great. One thing about Daniel, you're not going to end a meal unless you have a shot of tequila. That is
Correct.
something about Daniel. He wants to have him a shot of tequila to I don't know, toast and have good
What do they
times
call
and
it? A
good friends, good
diuretic?
memories, all the things. But the guy knows his tequila.
That's
If you get to know fishing as good as you know tequila, dude, you're set. You're going to be a
well, I
professional
am
angler in
next.
no time. You're
Yeah.
going to be a professional angler in no time. Let's see. Let's see what else I wanted to ask you. Um, let's see. Maybe I've just about asked you everything else. Well, let's talk about news going on in the fishing world right now. Dustin Cannell just won his third Red Crest. That's a
Cruiser boy.
Coosa River guy. and
Yep.
got up there and got it done. He's gotten it done on Lake Eufaula. He's gotten it done on Lake Gunnersville. Like, that's
If there's a
incredible.
tournament in Alabama, you might as well just bet on Dustin Connell winning the thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Every
he's
real ball.
dialed for sure. He's dialed for sure, and did it in a lot of different ways. Like, it wasn't just scoping. So
He ran and
he's
caught smallmouth on Gunnersville where everybody's catching heads.
yep.
That's crazy. You think outside the box to go up there and catch 80 pounds of smallmouth.
Is that not insane?
It is
I saw where
insane.
you said you were tired of watching it online. You had to go out and go fishing yesterday. So where
I,
did you go yesterday?
I went out to Logan yesterday and had my own little mini red crest. Yeah, and it was fun.
I
Yeah.
bet. I bet. I get to see
I
your
was like,
story.
yeah.
Um, lot going on in the professional fishing world. I know you and I and Spencer, we've all talked about it when we're sitting at dinner or whatever. Scott Martin walks away from the Elite Series for 2025. And I didn't see if this was a lifetime decision. I saw from the 2025 season, um, maybe it was time for that.
Yeah, yeah. And the problem is that he'll have to go through the gauntlet of requalifying and the EQs and with how good these boys are these days, if he's able to do it, that'd be a testament of his real skill. But if he's not able to do it, then maybe he's got to hang it up.
You know, I
So
often say, is Bass trying to right the wrongs of the past, or how, all of a sudden we have these DQs that are coming down, and you know, I saw some comments online about now just any average go can claim something, and now they're going to DQ a professional angler because this guy said this or whatever. I don't think you can just say it. I think you got to have a little bit of the proof that this actually happened before Bass is going to go out and disqualify somebody with the name of Scott Martin. I think there's got to be something there. Um, I think our sport needs to be held to a little bit higher standard, and I'm glad to see some of these things coming down the pipe to do that.
yeah, yeah,
But
I know I kind of referenced this, and I'm not probably the person to say everything about bass fishing. I'm a peon when it comes to Scott Martin. But it had been a running rumor and a running joke, and the whole entire open with everybody in the opens,
mhm.
that here comes Scott Martin, he's getting information. So it's to have that reputation right off the bat, and then for it to actually happen this year, that's very, I don't believe in coincidences. So I just think there's just too much going on, too many holes in the story.
Yeah, I hate to see any negative on our sport. I really do. I said this in the first segment. We need people to invest in the sport of bass fishing. We need sponsors to support us because we try to pay back everything we get in plus some to entice our anglers to drive to 2 and 3 states away and all of the things. So we need people investing. So you never want a black eye. You never want stories like this to come out. And certainly if they do, you want them handled in a way that is supporting good sportsmanship and things people want to invest in. So I hate to see negative stories like this come out. Hopefully we'll hear more about it as the days go on. But we are heading up to Neely Henry on our next stop, Alabama Bass Trail. I saw a tournament won there yesterday or Saturday with 1853 with a 677 in the bag. So it's a pretty good weight for old Neely Henry.
Yeah, that's a good bag for Neely Henry.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Looking forward to that. So you may have the airport solo this Friday at Lay. Is it going to be on
Yeah,
Lay?
yeah, it's going to be on lay. I believe it's sponsored also by Mark's Outdoors.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
it should be a good event. I'm looking forward. They run a really good tournament.
yeah. They do. They
It's like
do.
a local tournament, but it's not anything the size of an ABT, but they're
Well,
still,
those guys, a lot of those guys
catch
fish
'em.
with us. I see the names on those lists. I know, I'm not sure if Clint Miller runs that event for them.
Yes, yes, he
Is he,
does. Yes.
does he? Okay, yeah. Clint, and then Greg Bearden, I think, runs their high school trail. Greg fishes with us. Clint's fished with us several times. So they do really well. Airport does really well. Sylacauga Marine Trail, Coosa River Team Trail. All those guys run stand-up events. We're very blessed in the state of Alabama. You can just about fish for $5,000 to $10,000 on any given weekend. I know there's another the Benton Nissan tournament's coming up and not too far down the road, and there's always something. So your next kind of venture out is going to have to be Smith Lake, dude. Like you're going
Yeah,
to have to
yes.
get to Smith Lake.
You're gonna have to. I don't have a choice.
I mean, if you're a spotted bass guy, I mean, you're going to have to get to Smith Lake and see what that's all about.
Yeah,
We're
I'm
going to
gonna have
get to see it, I think, in a couple weeks. The Toyota or Tackle Warehouse Invitationals are going to be here. I think the 15th through the 17th. I unfortunately will be in Cancun. So
Oh no. Talking about drinking tequila.
tequila, talking about tequila, that's a perfect place for it. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Pretty
Yeah,
sure that's where it
I
comes
mean,
from.
I hate that and all, but I'm not going to be there. So I will make it back in time for Neely Henry, but I will not be here for the Toyota or for the Tackle Warehouse Invitational. So I won't know anything about that till I get back and hear it on the news wire. So oh well.
We'll have
I'm
a
going to
safe
have a
trip.
blast. I'm going to have a blast. Just you might want to turn your phone off or hide me for the next 8 or 10 days because
Disable notifications.
yeah, just disable notifications on Kay Donaldson because you're not going to want to see all the goings on of this craziness. I get away from the Alabama Bass Trail, dude. I like to relax and
Party.
kick up my feet. Yeah. Kick up my feet. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on with me and thank you for moving to the great state of Alabama. I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying your time here. And we welcome you to the great state of Alabama.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, there you have it. Daniel Vasquez, newcomer to the state of Alabama, but not a newcomer to bass fishing. Look for his name on the Alabama Bass Trail in 2026. We'll be back with the third and final segment in just a minute, so y'all stay tuned.
It's the moment when everything is on the line and precision, power, and control make all the difference. A moment over 20 years in the making, anchored on loyalty, trust, and support that goes beyond all expectations. A relentless pursuit of perfection. All born from a revolutionary idea to help you rule the water. Power Pole.
Welcome back to the third and final segment of our podcast for today. I do want to remind you the next up for the North Division is Neely Henry Lake on April the 19th. Looking forward to being back down in Gadsden. Thankful to Julie, the mayor, Craig Ford there for being our host for that tournament. Not sure we'll have a podcast for that week. As I mentioned, April 10th through the 16th, I will be out of the country on vacation. John Simpson, your tournament director, will be handling and fielding all of your phone calls. You can still expect your email to come out at 10 o'clock on Monday morning. You can still expect your boat numbers to come out at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Just not sure I will have time between now and then to record a podcast for that tournament. So, but everything else should go as normal. But I will not be available from April the 10th through the 16th. My email will bounce back to you, letting you know that I'm out of town. My phone will be cut off. So I will be enjoying some downtime in Cancun. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to being back down in Gadsden, though, for the third stop of the North Division. And then we got a couple weeks and we will be at the Alabama River. Thank goodness we are not there this week. I think it's going to be about 30 feet above flood. So I'm glad we're not there this week. And I'm having to make those changes and all the things. So thank you for tuning in to the Alabama Bass Trail podcast. I want to thank Daniel Vasquez for being willing to jump on with me and talk about his experience here in the great state of Alabama. I do hope you will subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcasting app. Remember, hug your mom and them. Give those fur babies a little extra treats and a little extra love. Be thankful for everything you have going on in your life right now. Remember to say prayers for Miss Pam Martin Wells and her family. Going through a lot right now. Hope you get out and enjoy the great state of Alabama, and we will see you at Neely Henry Lake on April the 19th. God bless and peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Alabama Bass Trail podcast. To learn more about the Alabama Bass Trail, make sure and visit alabamabasstrail.org.